kind of just want to shift gears here now, just to the team that ended up coming up short, Phoenix Suns. I think what happened was, you and I were kind of just really rooting for Chris Paul, wanting to see him, finally potentially get a ring. I think the whole world was really wanting to see Chris Paul get a ring, kind of finally get over that hump. It looks like they just ran out of gas, and they won those first two games, dropped four straight. Chris Paul just didn't look like himself. I'd say at least like out of 4 out of 6 of those games, he didn't really look like himself. DeAndre Ayton was kind of breaking down a little bit, just wasn't really able to match that physicality, that Giannis was bringing, game in and game out, getting into foul trouble early. Devin Booker had a couple just heroic performances that ended up in losses. Back to back 40-point games where they still kind of found a way to drop those games. Even last night, they had like a 9-point lead midway through the third quarter and just kind of ran out of gas. And once the Bucks got the lead, like middle of the fourth, it was kind of they really didn't look back after that. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Chris Paul's legacy? Just from what what happened, how this series unfolded. Obviously, he got to a place where he hasn't been yet in his career. But what are your thoughts on him going forward and how this will go down? How he'll go down in history as one of the best point guards in the game.
Yeah, I think he's locked in and solidified as one of the best point guards in the game. Definitely the most consistent and best point guard I've seen in my basketball watching career.
Mm-hmm.
He's been phenomenal. From the first time I seen him down in New Orleans to last night even. So I think he's been a phenomenal player.
You're just saying already solidified himself as one of the best point guards in the game.
Yeah.
Most consistent point guard you've seen.
No, I don't know. I think if he could have got this, I think people talk about him differently. I think people talk about him as kind of more than Magic Johnson. One of the kind of that echelon of point guard. Not that he's not, but I think you have to have a championship under your belt for people to talk about you a certain caliber.
Right.
And I think that would have did this for him. He's kind of put him just solidified as that much, that much more solidified is the heart of, or not the heart, but as one of the best point guard of all time. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think too much is taken off the top. I think he's phenomenal. I think Devin Booker's still phenomenal. Aiden, I think they still have a great young team.
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah, very young. I think they'll be around for a while, regardless of what happened yesterday.
Yeah, I think what kind of happened was I think it was kind of like the fun pick. You know what I'm saying? The Suns were like the heartwarming story. You know what I mean? Like everybody knows who Chris Paul is. Everybody likes Chris. Most people like Chris Paul. Devin Booker. A lot of people in Michigan was on behind him just because he was from Grand Rapids. And they were just playing so well, like in the playoffs, and kind of had the Bucks. They were, they swept Miami, but then they went 7 with the Nets. Giannis got hurt against the Hawks. They were kind of struggling to get past them, so they kind of had like an uglier, path to the finals. But we also forget too that Giannis was in the conference finals a couple years back. He was in the second round and got bounced. So that team kind of understood what it meant to be in that moment, and they were we just not going to let it slip this time. So, and I think the Bucks overall is just more physical. It's bigger than the Suns. You had Booker was being covered by PJ Tucker, who's 6'4", 6'5", 230, just was really giving him a hard time.
I don't know what's wrong with I don't know. Giannis is I don't know. He's so phenomenal, but it's odd. Like the roller coaster I felt like through the playoffs. Going into the playoffs, I don't feel like I had that much hope. And then they were looking down. They were looking bad. Then they were looking good. Then
they swept Miami.
KD being 1 inch past the line. I just feel like there's been such a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And then starting out 0-2 in the playoffs here,
Mm-hmm.
and I just think it's kind of crazy. It's wild to see them kind of tie it all together. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Bucks kind of they were kind of maybe put together a little bit more. That team's been together a little more tested together than, especially throughout the playoffs. Than the Suns. A lot of those guys never had playoff experience other than Chris Paul.
Right.
So I think the Bucks getting embarrassed last year in the playoffs and coming up short 2 years before that, I think kind of maybe toughened their skin up a little bit
Yeah,
and maybe gelled them together where they could they could prevail in a time like this.
yeah, and also adding, I mean, like, you know, I'll say personally when they got Drew Holiday, I was like, I think they gave up way too much for Drew Holiday. You know, like, I mean, I don't think he's been an all-star before. Obviously, first team all defense, one of the best defenders in the league. They gave up like 2, 3 draft picks for him, a couple other guys. You know, they had to unload a little bit just to get PJ Tucker as well. I think Bobby Portis is probably one of the biggest like free agent acquisitions, most important ones, obviously. You know, this year alone and probably in the last few years. I mean, they essentially had PJ Tucker been on a perennial, playoff team with Houston, for so long, veteran in the league, played on a lot of great teams. And yeah, Bobby Portis, who was basically like a lottery pick 4, 5, 6 years ago. So you had a guy that had a lot of that like playoff experience. He had a guy that was basically a starter coming off your bench. Yeah, I mean they had a lot of their role players just played really well on the road at home, but like you're right, like I said, it was kind of just a roller coaster because they swept Miami, lost to Brooklyn, then won. Uh, you know, then won. Obviously won that series in seven. Lost game one to Atlanta, and then they're able to also lost Giannis. For a couple stretches, for a couple games in that series, and still kind of able to find a way. So yeah, definitely congrats to them for sure. But yeah, just to kind of jump into the next topic here, small